Oh my gosh, Tamika.
Yeah.
Wow. I want to thank you for sharing this because I know this can't be easy. And I know that it just took a lot of bravery and courage for you. And I'm just honored to witness it. Like, cause I don't know. I think what I'm feeling is like I just feel how heavy this has been for you, but I'm also so proud of you. And I know I've said this before, like I'm
Yeah.
so proud of what you've been able to do in terms of like moving forward in a way that feels more healthy for you and your daughter, but also even just you making this decision to talk about this today. Like, I know so many women need to hear this. And honestly, even for me, it's just enlightening and making me think, full transparency. I like this topic, but also it heals something in me because my mother went through very similar experiences that you're speaking to. And so me even just kind of like hearing women talk about this and knowing that we are working together to make changes for other women, it's healing for the women who are listening. It's healing for our mothers who went through it and did not have support or help like this. And so I just really wanted to just stop and just say thank you. um, I think another thing, what you just said really stood out to me is like the you initially thought that you had to work on being a better parent and how much work it took for probably your therapist and you to come around to this idea that no, you don't need to be better. You just need more support. And this is what's happening to you, not what you need to be doing differently or better. And I just think that there are so many women and mothers who are stuck in that place where they think they have to buy the book about parenting because they need to be a better parent.
Yes.
They think if I just,
Mhm.
maybe I do need to go to marital therapy because I just need to work on being a better wife. Or, if I could just get my time management together. So let me buy this planner
Yes.
so I could finally just make more time for them. When
Mhm.
really, instead, the issue is that there is something that I am needing and I have been deprived for years.
Right. Yeah, that time management piece, that really was big for me.
Hmm.
It is to me now, I think like that is so insane that I thought my
Yep.
issue was that I needed to plan
Time
my time
management.
better, especially considering I've always been really good at time management. There's no way. There
No.
is no way I should have thought that. But I
Mhm.
did because I just wanted to be a better wife and mother.
Hmm. And that's what we all want. And that's the thing, like I tell moms all the time, whenever I'm pushing for like, make time for yourself, take a minute for yourself. And people think what they hear from me is like, oh, well, who's going to take care of the kid?
Uh-huh.
Like, oh, you want me to neglect my child? And what I want y'all to get is like, if you have been stuck in a default parent role, that means ain't no more time management you need. You got it.
Right.
Ain't no more productivity you need. Like you are
Nope.
productive, you know how to do time management, you got all the skills. You could probably run a whole organization
Right.
because that's literally what motherhood requires of you, especially when you're doing it alone. And
Mhm.
so, no, you don't need more productivity. You don't need more time management. You don't need more skills to be a better wife or a better mom. You need help. You need
Right.
more help. You need more support. You
Mhm.
need more time to really focus on you and really care for you. Because then when you do that, it then leads to other things that kind of enlighten you and help you realize, like, hey, this needs to change. This needs to change. And it sounds like even for you, it kind of took you down this road that you didn't even anticipate, but now it's
Right.
better.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly that. It took me down a road that I never thought I would be going down. I
Mm-hmm.
never thought that I would be learning to put myself first because
Mm-hmm.
that was most important. And that is one of the most important things I learned in therapy. I have to put myself first. And like your Instagram commenters, especially the husbands, they are so upset about that. They think that is the worst thing ever, that wives should not be putting themselves first, but they should.
Absolutely.
The husbands put themselves first.
Yeah. Everyone should.
I know mine did.
Yep. Everyone
And
should.
yeah, and to be upset that your wife wants the same freedom to be herself,
Mhm.
I feel like I lost myself
Yeah.
and I had to find myself again. And I have, and I'm
Hmm.
better and I'm stronger.
Hmm.
But I wish it hadn't happened that way.
Right. Right. So I want to shift gears a little bit because in all this conversation, we haven't even really touched on like your daughter. And I know that probably is like, ooh, it's hard to talk about our babies when we're talking about all this, but I want to know, during this time, what was your relationship like with her, like during all of this happening?
It wasn't a deep relationship. It
Mm,
wasn't the relationship I would have wanted to have with my child. She was just another problem I had to solve. She
mm,
was something that I had to figure out. She was not someone, something that
yeah.
I had to take care of, like a pet almost, not a person that I connected with.
Hmm.
And I was definitely not practicing gentle parenting, even as her being like an infant and a toddler. And even my mom called me out on that. She's like, sometimes you're kind of mean to her. And I had to really think about that. But, when I was in a miserable marriage, I didn't have the energy to be a good mom.
Right.
I didn't have the energy to do the gentle parenting,
Hmm.
which is so hard because you have to
Girl.
have you have to really be thoughtful. You really have to have the
Hmm.
energy. You can't
Hmm.
really have a lot of things going on mentally to be able to say, okay, I'm going to, my emotions are in check and I'm going to, treat this child like a person. And I couldn't connect with her.
Yeah. Yeah, and it makes so much sense because how could you? You
Right.
know, gentle parenting, conscious parenting really does require us to be fully present and fully filled, restored, rejuvenated. And sometimes it's frustrating because, like, realistically, no mom is, but you're definitely not if you are being abused in an abusive situation, like not having your needs met, then it's just like negative. You're like you're in the negative. Like,
Right.
and how can you parent in that way? And like how can you see your child? How can you connect? So it makes so much sense that I think what you said is it wasn't a deep connection. She was just there, something
Right.
to deal with. And that's so honest. And again, I just thank you for being so honest because I think women and moms are afraid to say that.
Yeah.
We're afraid to say that, and we all have moments like that, but it feels like for you and women who are going through what you're going through, it wasn't just a moment, it was literally the life,
Right.
right? Like we all will have moments when things are too overwhelming or too busy where it's just like we kind of view our kids as like, oh, just okay, just eat the dinner, like, oh, just go to bed. But that's not
Right.
what we want, but we definitely don't want that to be like their experience of us
Mhm.
completely.
Right. And that was just every day for me.
Mhm. Mhm.
Every day.
Yeah. How was it talking to her about the decision to
Mm.
move for divorce? What was that like?
She was about 2 at the time.
Oh,
So
she
I
was young.
really, yeah, she was young. So I really struggled to speak to her in an appropriate way.
Mhm.
And I just kind of told her, daddy hasn't been nice to us. So we have to leave.
Yeah.
And it was devastating to have to tell her that. And it still is kind of devastating talking through it. Still, she's 5 now and we still talk about it. But like, I feel like I'm doing a good job because my mom would never be talking to me about this kind of stuff, especially over an extended period of time. By now, she would have been like, all right, get over it. But
Mhm.
uh, the funny thing is, like, after we left, I stayed with my dad for about 3 weeks until I
Mhm.
found a place for us to live. And she just blossomed over that time. And I realized that
Oh my
how
God.
her father was treating me deeply affected her.
Oh my God.
And he was just so neglectful towards her and us staying with my dad and him kind of showing us what care is. It's been amazing.
Wow. Tamika, we got too much. Oh, okay. More. The thing that's coming up for me is just like, well, first of all, you are doing an amazing job. Like, I know you know it because one thing about you I love, and you've done this in the community. Like, you always will acknowledge, like, you've come a long way and you were doing it. Like, you
Mhm.
were doing it, and I believe that most days for you, you know it. But if you're ever doubting it, just know, like, you're doing such a good job. You really are. And you're right. You being able to have that conversation with her at 2, which, many of us assume like, oh, they're 2, they don't even know what's going on. They absolutely know what's going on. They
Yes.
they know, they know. Little kids are so perceptive. They know
Mhm.
exactly what's going on. And it's because they're deeply connected to us, even if we are not connected to them.
Yes.
Like, because you just said it wasn't a deep connection, but she was fully deeply connected with you, and she knew
Right.
exactly what you were going through at 2,
She
even
did.
if she didn't have the words.
Mhm. She did. She absolutely knew that I was unhappy,
Mm-hmm.
and that truly affected her
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
just because I was her everything, essentially.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And so one thing that I feel that happens to moms, especially moms who likely do need to move towards separation or divorce, is that they assume that the separation or the divorce will be the thing that will break the child. And,
Yes.
and they're not realizing that
Mhm.
all the while the child is being broken gradually.
Mhm.
It's just because they can't see what's happening outside. Like, you're in the bubble too. It's like you think, well, they're doing okay. They're doing okay. When you don't realize, like, if they were instead put in a different situation, or let me scratch that. If you were put in a different situation where you were happier, you were healthier, you were thriving, your kid's going to blossom. And because you are not happy, you are not healthy, you are not thriving, you are being crushed and diminished every day, your kid can only reach the potential that you are. And I think
Right.
that's the missing link. Like
Mhm.
you just said, once y'all got out of that situation, she blossomed. And you probably didn't even realize that she could blossom
No,
like that. You
no.
probably thought she was doing fine.
Yeah, I thought she was just a quiet kid.
Yep.
And no, she was not. She was just unhappy
Yeah.
in that situation and probably even afraid
Yeah.
to, as a 2-year-old, to even make noise. Because again, I'm unhappy. I'm not treating her well. Her dad is neglecting her. So it just makes sense for her to just be quiet.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm.
now, not at all.
Can't stop her now. And that is so real. She probably was afraid. She probably was confused. And she probably was taking cues from you. You know what
Right.
I'm saying?
Mhm.
Like, well, we have to be quiet here. We can't,
Right.
we
We
can't
can't
speak
disturb
up.
daddy.
Yeah, we can't disturb daddy. We gotta walk on eggshells. You know what I mean?
Right. Exactly. And
Mhm.
she saw that and she also experienced that.
Yeah.
And before leaving, I felt terrible that I was doing this to my child.
Mhm.
That I mean, I grew up with both of my parents. So divorcing her dad, especially so soon after we got married, so soon after having, I mean, she was 2
Mhm.
and kind of a new 2 as well, that I was doing this terrible thing to her by taking her away from her dad and raising her in a single parent home. And I learned that that is not the case at all.
No.
Having one strong, healthy, loving parent is
Yep.
way better than having 2 broken ones.
Yes. Ooh. Ooh, and that right there, having one healthy, strong, present parent is way better than having 2 broken ones. And the other thing I want to hit that point is that a lot of people assume, well, there was only just one broken parent.
Right.
No, there were 2.
Hmm.
He was broken, but you were too, because
Right.
you were being broken by him.
Hmm.
And so one strong, healthy parent is so much better than 2 broken ones. That right there, I think, was so key. Wow. So tell me a little bit more about what were the thoughts and opinions of other people around you once you made this decision
Oh
to
my gosh. So my friends and family were so shocked because
mm,
they really loved my ex-husband and they had no idea what was going on.
yeah.
Because I wasn't telling anyone about my home life. One, it was embarrassing that this was happening to me, or that, in the beginning, thinking that I'm a terrible wife. I'm doing such a horrible job at this. I can't tell anybody that I'm a terrible wife and a terrible mother.
Yeah.
Like, and I've always been like the smart girl, the strong girl, the one who could do everything. And, I felt like such a failure.
Mhm.
How could I, the one who has never been manipulated, who has never been abused in a relationship, marry someone who is doing that to me?
Right.
But I was so surprised after telling, my family and my closest friends what was going on. They really supported my decision
Mhm.
and kind of gave me a pat on the back for not waiting. Because I
Yep.
think a lot of us do that. We wait for things to get better. We think that if we have sunk so much into this relationship that if we leave, we have lost all that effort.
Mm-mm.
And sure, that is true. But do you want to continue putting more effort into something that's not working?
Right. Right.
Absolutely not.
No, no. I think so many of the relationships, the marriages that we millennial people tend to model ours on, or what we want, is like our grandparents, like some of our parents, our grandparents, the marriages that lasted like 30, 40, 50 years, right?
Mhm.
We look up to that, we want that. But then I think many of us are starting to realize that like those marriages were
Toxic.
filled with toxicity,
Mhm.
abuse,
Yep.
neglect.
Mhm.
And we're starting to really peel back those layers and realizing like, damn, maybe we didn't want that. Like we want this, we want what's on the surface. We want,
Right.
the celebration of like, I made it another 10 years.
Mhm.
But like I'm just imagining all the bullshit that those women probably had to go through for years.
So much. I think about my grandmother who was married to my grandfather for, I don't know, 60 years before he died.
Mm,
And after he died, it was like she was freed.
yeah.
And I didn't know that. Of course, being a grandchild, I never saw the hard times. I wasn't alive for the hard times. My dad and his siblings saw some of them, but that was normal at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And just seeing my grandma, she's 91 now, and you wouldn't know it.
Wow.
She, she's so healthy and happy and just glad to be here. And I don't remember her being that way when I was a child. I
Mhm.
remember her being mean and bitter,
Yeah.
and growing older and realizing that's not necessarily who she is. That's who she became because of what she dealt with my grandfather.
Mm-mm. Oh my gosh. That's
Right.
for real. And the other thing before I move on to the next question, again, something else floating around on the internet. I know Miss Michelle Obama recently said we gotta be
Oh,
okay with long-standing moments of, what did she say? Long-standing moments of like discontentment or
yes.
discomfort in your
Discomfort,
marriage.
yes. Long periods of discomfort in a relationship.
Yeah,
Ma'am, absolutely not.
girlfriend. Honey, and look, and me, I'm still trying to process that. And gosh, y'all know how much we respect our forever first
Mhm.
lady.
Yes.
But I still cannot fully accept and receive that comment, just because like I wish that she would have taken more consideration, or maybe it's just because me on this side who work and talk to moms dealing with bullshit every single day, I can easily see how that comment is misperceived, to have people who maybe like you years ago, or like who's in that current
Mhm.
situation, that leads them to think, well, I gotta just stick it out. I got to hold on. I got to just keep going, because Michelle Obama said
Right.
that I have to be okay with years of long-standing
Mhm.
discomfort.
But the funny thing is, how many of us have a Barack?
None of us.
No, exactly.
None of us.
And yet that I think has the potential to be so great professionally and personally, because it seems like they have a pretty good marriage right now.
Yeah.
And they're enjoying, I guess, some sort of retirement maybe. But I don't think that could be the story for a lot of us,
No.
to
No.
stick it out and then be rewarded for that.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the time you're punished for that.
Yep. Yep. Punished in ways that you don't even realize it until you have the courage to really move into the darkness to do something different
Right.
and see that there's all this light on the other side.
Exactly. That is what I have learned. And I
Mm-hmm.
want other moms to learn that as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That more of us are like me and not like Michelle Obama.
Thank you. Thank you. More of us are like me, like you, and very few like Michelle Obama. And I would even argue, and I think I said this online too, I would even argue that Michelle didn't get all that she deserved. She probably gave a little too much.
Mhm.
she sacrificed too much. And, I don't know their marriage, and it may just take more time for her to come to that, or hopefully she'll speak to that later. But I think, there probably is so much more that she probably needed and deserved that she
Right. We
doesn't.
need a third book.